All right, hey, good morning. It's Rob, and got up early today because I just wanted to talk about the new Beatles song, the final Beatles song. I mean, it's 2023, and we're getting a new Beatles song. Now, some people would stop me right there and say, it's not a new Beatles song. It's a John Lennon demo from 1977 or whatever, and they've been chipping away at this thing since the 90s. I get it. I understand where the song came from and what's been done to it and, how we got to this point. But let's just forget about all that for now. We're getting a new Beatles song that we haven't heard in 2023. It's going to be released as a single. The flip side is Love Me Do, a song I've never really been that fond of. The jump between Love Me Do and Please Please Me, it sounds like a band that had like 10 years of experience between those two events. So I don't know. Love Me Do is fine. It's just, there's nothing particularly exciting about that song to me other than maybe the cool harmonica part or whatever. But anyway, Love Me Do was what? October of 62. We're in 2023, 61 years later, and we're getting another Beatles song from a band that broke up in 1970. It's just insane when you think about it. Come on, everyone wants to gripe and grumble and say what it is or what it isn't or whatever, but it's a new Beatles song we haven't heard. I think we're going to be surprised to hear the stuff that they did to it, how they put it together, even if we're familiar with the basic song and the parts and the stuff we've heard in the demos and whatever. I think we're still going to be surprised in how it's been constructed, arranged. It's going to sound so much better than Free as a Bird and Real Love. They just did not have the technology back then to do what they were trying to pull off, which was to, take a really, lo-fi cassette recording from some janky boombox sitting on John Lennon's piano and convert it to, a sonically pleasing, high-end recording, worthy of the Beatles' name. So, you kind of just listened to it and thought, oh, well, it's so cool because it's John singing or whatever, but the quality of his voice, the way he sounds, maybe it kind of worked, for Free as a Bird for that type of song, but in general, it was still pretty lo-fi, and really not all, that great to listen to when you actually, listen to the quality of his voice and how he sounded versus how we know John Lennon can sound. Anyway, so that's what's happening next week, November 2nd. Now and Then will be released as a single. Like I said, flip side will be Love Me Do. And it's going to be tacked on to the end of the new re-release of the Blue record. And they're adding a bunch of other songs that weren't on the original Red and Blue records that have been remixed. And finally, some of them actual stereo mixes will be coming out as opposed to what they did before where they just like took two tracks and put one on the left and one on the right and whatever was on either side, that's what you got. But so I'll tell you what I know. A lot of people are just reading off of Wikipedia or articles. I'm just going to tell you what I've read, just off the top of my head, what I know about the song Now and Then. So yes, early, solo demo for John Lennon. It was given to Paul McCartney during the anthology recordings and release. That happened in the mid-90s. I think they 4 songs were provided. They, of course, cut Free as a Bird, Real Love, which to me, it's an okay song. Free as a Bird, I think, is a really worthy effort and was very touching when it came out, especially with the video and the bird flying into all the different locations that were related to the Beatles and their history. Just the whole package and idea of it, to me, I think was really impressive. Like I said, Real Love came after that. And then for the third anthology record, they were gonna tack on Now and Then. They started to work on it. They worked on it for, I don't know, a couple hours. And then there were other sessions that happened like a few months later, drum sessions or overdubs or whatever. But anyway, for whatever reason, and there were a few reasons, they just never got around to following up and finishing it. Apparently George hated the record. He just didn't think the song was any good. and they just kind of lost interest in it. Plus, the quality of the recording was very poor. The quality of all these recordings was very poor, but this one especially had a lot of hum that came from, I think, plugging the boombox into the wall. It was very hard to pull that hum out and still have a good, quality recording of John's voice. So they just packed it up, and over the years, Paul McCartney has said he's going to revisit it. He's going to put that thing out one day. He's been saying it for 30 years. But they did follow up, and they did actually go through with it and get this thing ready for release, and it'll come out next week, like I said. So what is it? Well, it's some version of John Lennon's demo. We're assuming that because they have Lennon's lyrics and his vocal melodies and whatever, was included in the demo, that'll be more or less like we heard in the demo. The demo has 3 distinct parts: a verse, something I guess you could call a chorus, and then like a little tag part or a bridge that repeats a couple times. It'll be interesting to see how they arrange it. It'll be really interesting to see how they make the transitions between the parts, because they're in different keys. It's not your typical pop song. It doesn't just go predictably from, one chord to the next where you'd expect it to go. It's kind of all over the place. So it'll be really cool to see how they pull all that off. Now, what did they do with it? Well, they were able to use an AI process, and people really freaked out about AI. But basically what they did is they were able to take the recording, separate it into what they call 3 stems, 3 parts. They had just Lennon's vocal that they were able to extract, or what they call de-mix, out of the cassette recording. And of course, the cassette is probably just a mono or a stereo cassette recording, and very poorly recorded on not good quality equipment. But they were able to basically extract anything that was Lennon's vocal. Of course, that's where the AI comes in, and the machine learning, the computer is able to pull out just what is John Lennon's vocal and put it aside, just what is John Lennon's piano and put it here, and then third, everything else that's on there, the rumble of traffic, the air conditioning going in the room, whatever it was, Yoko pacing back and forth, waiting for John to finish it, who knows. So anyway, what are we going to hear? I think we're just going to hear a really surprisingly good quality track of John's vocal. I think the piano is probably not going to make it in there, and definitely the other stuff not going to make it in there either. Paul has recreated the piano part, but they were able to at least separate it and hear it, and so he could recreate it faithfully. So you got Lennon's vocal, you got Paul playing piano. Paul is also playing a few different things, a harpsichord part. He's even playing a shaker. Ringo's playing a shaker too. Ringo played a new drum part. They originally, I think, came up with the drum part and was recorded back in 94 or 95 or whatever by Jeff Lynne, but they redid that. Paul also is going to play a slide guitar solo in this song that is, a tribute or reminiscent of what George Harrison would have played. I think George is also, I know George is also on the record in some capacity, whatever had been recorded in 94 in those couple hours, acoustic guitars, or I think he also plays some kind of slide lines or whatever he played, typical George Harrison stuff, and that will obviously be included. It will have to be, so that it is a complete Beatles recording. And that's what we're going to get. We're going to see what it is. Oh yeah, they also added in background vocals from 3 different songs, from Because, from Here, There, and Everywhere, and something else. Like I said, I'm doing this off the top of my head. Eleanor Rigby. So the backing vocals apparently are not obvious, like they pulled the part out of there for you to think Eleanor Rigby or to think Here, There, and Everywhere. And if you think of those songs, like Because, the lines are really drawn out. Because. So they're going to take those drawn out parts, and I don't think you're going to really know that it came from there necessarily, but they're oohs and ahs and long sustained notes that they're able to, again, demix or pull out just as a track on its own. And they're going to add those in underneath to get those great Beatles harmonies. Of course, they'll be able to sample them and play them back on a keyboard or whatever in the right key in the right place that they need to go. So There are elements of Beatles songs that are going to be woven in there, but apparently not to the point where you would say, that's the ooh and ah from, Eleanor Rigby or whatever it is. So that's very cool. And that's, 10 minutes in here to my rambling, informational video here about this upcoming release. That's pretty much all I know for now. That's all any of us know. Very excited to hear it. I think it's going to be very cool to hear what they did. Like I said, the instrumentation, how they put together. People may have their issues with it, but it's 2023. We're getting a new Beatles song 61 years. 61 years after Love Me Do came out, and they were even a band before that. But it's not unprecedented. We've got new recordings from the Zombies. We've got new recordings from the Rolling Stones, the Who, lots of bands. I'm not going to say lots of bands, but, there's a group of bands who go way back to the early mid-60s who are still, in some form or other releasing music. So like I said, it's not unheard of. Chuck Berry, who of course recorded songs in the 50s, was 90 years old and put out his last album and then immediately died. But so there have been recordings with these long stretches of time, before, but this is the Beatles. Come on. Like I said, they haven't been together since 1970, and we're getting a new song in 2023. So let's appreciate what we get. Let's enjoy it when it comes out. And I think it's going to be a fitting tribute and a fitting, final statement from the Beatles, even the title Now and Then. It's being released now. We're going to think about then and everything that happened before, and look forward to hearing it coming out in about a week. So we'll see what we get. All right, take care. Bye.